What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. As most of you have come to find, I like to cover a lot of builds here on the channel. Most of the time we focus on builds that will help you survive in-game level content, but today we'll be looking into the best current damage builds for each class. We'll be checking out 3 Titan, Warlock, and Hunter builds. Builds that stand out as superior options to turn to for optimal damage whenever going up against any of the current dungeon and raid bosses here in Destiny. To go along with these powerful builds, we'll be looking into the best weapon loadouts, the best armor and artifact mods, and as many details that we can cover about optimizing your overall damage output. Before we dig into these builds, I'd like to take a moment to address damage enhancements because these can have a significant impact on your performance. Our first means of enhancing damage is with weakening effects, and there's several ways to apply weakening against enemies, so let's take a look at our options. The most effective methods will be through Hunter's Tether, the Tractor Cannon exotic shotgun, and the Fellwinter's exotic helmet for Warlocks. Each of these will apply a 30% debuff against your enemies, with the Fellwinter's only providing that debuff after melee final blows and finishers, and the Tractor Cannon only being effective from point blank range. It's going to be Tether that offers the most benefit. And then we have our lesser weakening effects, which prompt a 15% debuff. This includes the Divinity, which isn't nearly as good as it used to be, but when you're in a situation where it's hard to land those crits, this is an incredible option. There's also Echo of Undermining, Facet of Dominance, Smoke Bombs, the Demoralize weapon trait, the Chaos Deterministic, the Buried Bloodline, and the new artifact mod called Particle Reconstruction. But it's important to know that these will not stack with each other. Whichever one is stronger will drown out the others. So before you go into damage phases, it's going to be critical for you and your team to have someone assigned to apply these weakening effects. It's also going to be imperative for someone on your team to be providing a damage buff. These are provided by Ward of Dawn, Empowering Rifts, Radiance, Noble Seekers, and Well of Radiance. Weapons of Light provides a 40% increase in damage, but it's much easier to use Well of Radiance since it also provides bonus health recovery and you don't have to worry about accidentally shooting the shield. In addition to weakening effects and universal damage boosters, we can improve our damage output by utilizing various armor mods. Mods like Weapon Surges will have an obvious influence on our overall damage, since these can provide as much as a 22% increase in damage, but Reloader, Targeting, and even Reserve mods can have a substantial impact on your overall damage. In a perfect scenario, we want to avoid reloading as much as possible so that we can maintain sustained damage, but that would call for us to use weapons with perks like Auto Reloading, Envious Assassin, Envious Arsenal, or Overflow. So whenever we do have to reload, we want to utilize between 1 and 2 copies of the Loader mod. With 1 copy, we gain a 10% increase in reload speed, and by using 2, we gain a 15-point increase. Since 3 copies of this mod only bumps us up to 18 points, we're better off sticking with just 2. And then we have targeting mods, which don't provide as much benefit whenever you're going up against a close range boss, but against someone far away, like Oryx or the Witness, this could really help out. With 3 copies of this, we could have an extra 10 points of aim assist granted to any matching energy weapon. 2 copies would provide 8 points, with 1 granting us 5. This mod doesn't just make it easier to land precision shots, it also reduces the time it takes to aim down sights, which will help you get your shots off a lot faster. Because of the ammo economy in this game, it can be tough to maintain ammo, which is why it'll be important for you to utilize mods like Finder, Reserve, and Scavenger. But we also have Special and Heavy Ammo Finder enhancement mods that can now be added onto crafted and enhanced weapons. With ammo economy in mind, we do have 2 new artifact mods that will help generate extra special ammo. The Nobel mod generates special ammo on rapid final blows with a glaive, which has made it extremely viable to run double special loadouts right now. The Dreadful Finisher mod grants special ammo bricks whenever finishing high value targets like mini-bosses, tormentors, and champions. So whenever we become reliant on special weapons like Choir of One, Lord of Wolves, Still Hunt, or Divinity, these are mods that we need to be equipping. In addition to weakening effects, armor mods, and universal buffs, we'll be able to amplify our damage output through the use of a few different artifact mods. With the addition of bolt charges, Bungie has given us quite a few artifact mods that will help generate these, and with a flashover artifact mod, bolt charges will gain a 150% increase in damage, which is going to help out a lot of arc and prismatic builds deal a lot more damage. But the big standout artifact mod is Limit Break. This provides a 30% increase in super damage whenever you have a matching elemental buff active. So for example, if you're using Golden Gun, you'll receive that bonus whenever you have Restoration or Radiance active. But if you're a Titan using Thunder Crash, you would have that bonus applied whenever you're Amplified or whenever Knockout is active. So it's going to be crucial for you to pay attention to what active buffs you have before you cast your super. To play off the use of Limit Break, we can use Elemental Supercharger to improve how quickly our super regenerates. This provides additional super energy whenever defeating exhausted and severed enemies with matching elemental weapons. Whenever using Trace Rifles, the Harsh Refraction mod will provide bonus damage whenever using those against enemies who are debuffed with matching elements. This will provide a 50% increase to Legendary Trace Rifles, a 35% increase with Exotics, and a 20% increase for the Microcosm. So just as an example, if you were using the Hollow Denial against a suppressed, weakened, or volatile enemy, you would gain that 50% increase. I wouldn't go as far to say that Trace Rifles are the new damage meta, but a 50% increase in damage is nothing to scoff over. The last means of damage enhancement that we'll talk about before getting into our builds will be weapon traits. We mentioned earlier that traits like Overflow, Envious Assassin, and Envious Arsenal will help us maintain sustained damage. Traits like Demolitionist, Rewind Rounds, 4th Times the Charm, Grave Robber, and Triple Tap are also some great options to be able to reduce how often we have to reload. But there's also Attrition Orbs, which will create orbs of power as we deal sustained damage. This will help you and nearby teammates maintain the damage bonus from weapon surges. And when it comes to optimal weapon damage, we want to make use of weapons that have damage boosting traits. Bait and Switch is one of the more popular options as it provides a 30% increase in damage, but that's after hitting enemies with your other two weapons. Weapons with this trait tend to synergize very nicely with area denial grenade launchers like the Lost Signal, the Psycho Pump, and even the Wither Horde. There's a new weapon trait that's become available that has a lot of promise, and that's Elemental Honing. This works a lot like Bait and Switch, but you have to rotate through elemental damage. So if you're utilizing different energy types through your weapons and abilities, this might be a really strong option since it provides as much as a 35% increase in damage to non-kinetic weapons and as much as a 40% increase to kinetic weapons. There's also traits like Vorpal, which is a little bit easier to use, and it works out great on special and primary weapons, providing those with a 20 and 15% increase in damage against any high-value target. There's also Surrounded, which would provide a 40% increase in damage whenever there's at least 3 enemies nearby. Swords, rocket launchers, and grenade launchers will gain a 35% increase instead. One for All would provide its own 35% increase in damage, and all you need to do for that is strike 3 separate targets. There's also some archetype-specific traits like Trench Barrel and 1-2 Punch, which would go great on shotguns, or Controlled Burst, which is a great option on fusion rifles. Now that we've addressed all the ways that you can improve your damage, let's talk about the best builds that will see you putting up maximum damage. I have put together dim and Mobalytics links for each of these builds, which you can find down in the description, so if you need help setting up any of these, then be sure to check those out. And while you're down there, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We're going to be starting with our Crayon Eating Titans, where we have 3 spectacular builds to talk about. Our first build is one that takes advantage of the new Storm's Keep aspect, which will let us trigger a constant barrage of bolt charges, and on top of all the bolt charges, we'll have a massive increase given to Thunder Crash, thanks to the Cuirass of the Fallen Star. This provides a 55% increase in Thunder Crash damage, which will stack on top of Limit Break, and after we have completed our Thunder Crash, we'll gain a 50% bonus in damage resistance. We'll be able to recharge our Thunder Crash incredibly fast because every melee final blow will provide us with bonus super energy. This will be based on the enemy's rank, providing us between 2.5 and 3% extra energy. This could be used on Prismatic, where we would gain bonus damage off of Radiance and Facet of Courage, but we would miss out on all the benefits of Storm's Keep, which not only improves our damage but the damage of teammates. And keep in mind that because of the Flashover artifact mod, those bolt charges will deal extra damage. This build is great for distance and close-up engagements, and it'll pair up great with exotics like Thunderlord, Cloud Strike, Legend of Akarius, and Grand Overture. But because of the addition of Particle Reconstruction and a recent upgrade, you'll find the Queenbreaker to be one of the most powerful exotic options. An alternative option to the Cuirass whenever using Prismatic would be an exotic class item featuring the Spirit of Star Eater, but when it comes to Thunder Crash, we only get a 50% increase. Our next build utilizes the benefits of the Hazardous Propulsion exotic chest piece. This provides two significant benefits. The first is that as you land precision hits and final blows, you'll build up stacks of Exodus rockets. When casting your class ability, up to 6 rockets will launch out, dealing 600 points of base damage. And based on the number of rockets that strike enemies, you'll gain a bonus in damage provided to any weapon that uses rockets. This will provide as much as a 35% increase in damage, which will be granted to rocket sidearms and rocket launchers. But it's also going to increase the damage of Grand Overture's rocket volley, nano tracer rockets found on Neomuna weapons, and Wolfpack rounds found on the Ergo Sum and the Gallarhorn. This is an agnostic exotic, so its benefits can be shared with any subclass, but because of the inclusion of bolt charges, you'll find it to work best on Arc and Prismatic. This exotic has a lot of natural synergy with all of the rocket sidearms, but because the Buried Bloodline weakens enemies and grants you with Devour, it's going to be one of the best options to run with this build. The Grand Overture and Dragon's Breath would also be outstanding options, but we do have some standout legendary rocket launchers, like the Crux Termination, the Apex Predator, and Cold Comfort. Our final Titan build is designed for up-close engagements, like those against Ektar within the Ghost of the Deep. This build relies on the benefits of the No Backup Plan's exotic gloves. This provides two extraordinary benefits. When a Void Overshield is equipped, you'll gain a 35% increase in shotgun damage. This overrides weapon surge mods, but it will stack alongside Radiance. And when a Void Super is equipped, defeating enemies with shotguns will trigger health restoration and a Void Overshield. Securing more final blows with shotguns will refresh the Overshield. In addition to these benefits, this exotic provides a passive increase to shotgun reload speed and airborne effectiveness. This exotic and its benefits could work on any subclass, but will have a much easier time using it with Void and Prismatic. Twilight Arsenal does weaken enemies, and since the Prismatic subclass grants us access to Radiance and Facet of Courage, there's a lot more opportunities to maximize our overall damage. There's a lot of powerful shotguns that would pair up with the No Backup Plans, but the Lord of Wolves and Legend of Acarius are the two best right now. After some recent adjustments, the Lord of Wolves performs much like the Choir of One, and it dishes out a ton of damage, which will synergize great with the No Backup Plans. Until its return, the Perfect Paradox, a Sudden Death, and the Basso Ostinato are a few standout legendary options that would go great with this build. And with that, we shift our attention over to Warlocks, where we have 3 incredible builds that will help you top the charts in damage. Our first build is a solar one, and it relies on the benefits of the Sanguine Alchemy. Whenever standing in any Rift or Well of Radiance, we will gain a 25% increase to any weapon that matches our currently selected super. This overrides weapon surge mods, but it will stack alongside the 20% bonus that Radiance provides, and the 25% bonus that Well of Radiance grants. Whenever we damage an enemy from our rift, they will become marked, and we will gain an additional 10% damage against that enemy for 5 seconds, but that does not get shared with our teammates. Given our options with artifact mods, this would have some amazing synergy with the Sleeper Simulant, Dragon's Breath, Finality's Augur, the Merciless, and a number of other solar exotics like the Lord of Wolves. But since the bonus and damage is tied to our super, we could cast our Well of Radiance and then immediately swap over to another subclass like Arc and receive that 25% bonus damage with an exotic like the Queenbreaker. In addition to the bonus damage that this exotic provides, it also increases the duration of our rift whenever we land final blows, allowing us to extend the benefits of healing rifts or extend the 20% increase in damage that an empowering rift grants. Well of Radiance does work with a Limit Break artifact mod, funneling its bonus damage into our weapons. An additional benefit in using this with the solar subclass is the addition of fragments like Ember of Ashes and Char, which will improve the effectiveness of Scorch and Ignitions. But we also have Ember of Benevolence, which will give us a massive bonus in ability regeneration, granting us with a 400% increase to the regeneration rate of our grenade, class ability, and melee energies. And that's going to be triggered whenever we apply Restoration or Cure onto teammates. With our next build, we turn to the Arc subclass, where we'll be using the Geomag stabilizers with the Chaos Reach super. This super and subclass have received a lot of upgrades and improvements. We've got bolt charges, but we've also got ionic sentries that blinds enemies and surges them with bolts of lightning. This goes great with Arc Souls to provide us with a ton of free damage, and with the Geomag stabilizers equipped, we'll build up additional stacks of bolt charges as we sprint. We'll gain bonus super energy whenever collecting ionic traces, and our Chaos Reach will be extended, allowing us to deal up to 120% additional damage. Elemental Siphon will be a great artifact mod to use with this build to be able to generate additional ionic traces, helping us take full advantage of that 30% bonus damage provided by Limit Break. As we've mentioned on previous arc-centric builds, exotics like the Queenbreaker, Thunderlord, and Grand Overture are going to go great with this build, but there's also the Cold Heart and Delicate Tomb that would create some nice synergy with their ability to generate extra ionic traces. Our final Warlock build is a prismatic one that includes an exotic class item. We're looking for the Spirit of Star Eaters and the Spirit of Apotheosis. This is a deadly combination that will provide us with bonus super damage and rapid ability regeneration immediately after using our super. With the Star Eaters, we'll gain an increase in super damage as we collect orbs once our super is already full. With the Nova Bomb, we'll gain a 50% increase in damage, which is really nice, but by using Needle Storm, we'll gain as much as a 70% increase in damage. Those threadlings can be tricky at times, especially if there's multiple enemies, but if you can narrow it down to just the main boss and have Woven Mail active so that Limit Break will kick in, you're looking at some incredible damage, especially if you can have a flock of threadlings already perched. With the Spirit of Apotheosis, after we cast our super, we'll be able to spam our grenade and melee abilities for a whole 8 seconds. That could mean a ton of storm grenades or vortex, but if we're using Needle Storm, then I would prefer to use threadlings, because if they don't go out and find an enemy, they're going to come right back to us. We've also got some additional ways of creating threadlings thanks to the Horde Shuttle artifact mod, which creates threadlings whenever dealing sustained damage to unraveled enemies, which is going to work out great with exotics like the Euphony, which would also benefit from particle reconstruction. And with that, we turn our attention to our final class, and that's Hunters, who honestly have some of the most powerful options when it comes to damage. Our first build revolves around the Celestial Nighthawk, and while this has typically been connected to the Solar subclass, we're going to find a lot of benefits when running it on Prismatic. First off, this condenses your Golden Gun shot into one high-powered blast that deals out 684% increased damage, which is roughly 80% more damage than the 3 shots that you get with Marksman. A new benefit with this exotic is that you gain additional Golden Gun energy on precision final blows. This provides between 1.5% and 4.5% bonus energy based on the rank of each enemy. And if you defeat an enemy with Golden Gun, you'll get an instant 33% energy refunded, and that enemy is going to create a solar explosion, applying 400 points of base damage to any surrounding enemy, which could be quite the benefit whenever taking on groups of champions, tormentors, and subjugators. Golden Gun is at its most effective state whenever Radiance is active, and because of some recent changes, it is going to deal more damage when standing inside of a well of Radiance. To play into the rapid-fire nature of Golden Gun, sniper rifles will typically be a safe bet to include in this loadout. The Still Hunt, Icebreaker, Whisper of the Worm, and Cloud Strike would all be incredible exotic options, but because of some recent adjustments, the Darcy can be equally effective. This now works like the Gallerhorn to provide teammates who are using legendary sniper rifles with an increase in damage, and in doing so, you'll grant yourself with a 15% increase, which could give you quite the advantage against bosses like the Witness. Our next build takes us to the Arc subclass, where we're combining Gathering Storm with the Star Eater Scale exotic boots. Storm's Edge has been a great super for Hunters, but Gathering Storm is a much stronger option whenever going for optimal damage, and by including the Star Eater Scale, will give Gathering Storm as much as a 70% increase in damage. This only increases the impact of the Gathering Storm, but the spear itself will stay lodged into enemies, dealing out continuous damage over time, allowing you to go straight into your weapon rotations with a full overshield active. And keep in mind that we will have Limit Break, boosting all of Gathering Storm's damage. We also have overpowered bolt charges that will add to this build's overall damage. Spark of Amplitude will be an incredible fragment to utilize with this build, as it will generate bonus orbs whenever rapidly defeating enemies while we are amplified, helping us recharge our super and regain that maximum damage bonus faster. Like we've mentioned already, our current artifact mod pushes us towards using exotics like the Queenbreaker, Cold Heart, Thunderlord, and Grand Overture, and that's going to be the same with this build. And with that, we transition to our final Hunter build, which is technically a prismatic build, utilizing an exotic class item. There's quite a few standout combinations that Hunters have, but one of the most powerful options in terms of damage is the Spirit of Foe Tracer with the Spirit of Star Eater. We've spoke already about the amazing benefits of Star Eaters, and when it comes to prismatic Hunters, this will work out the best with Golden Gun. Storm's Edge is a really powerful option, but it's not as ideal for optimal damage, since it takes you out of your weapon rotation and out of position. But with Golden Gun, we're able to pop our super and transition right into weapon damage, and with Limit Break active, each of those shots are going to deal 30% additional damage. The Spirit of Foe Tracer provides a ×4 weapon surge whenever striking enemies with a matching ability. This 25% damage does override weapon surge mods, but it does stack alongside the effects of Radiance. So by aligning your abilities up with the energy type of your weapons, you'll be able to continuously rely on this improved weapon damage. And this isn't limited to your character's abilities. This can extend out to weapon traits like Chill Clip or Headstone that would trigger stasis debuffs, resulting in stasis weapons receiving a 25% increase in damage. We have a lot of opportunities to use several different energies and abilities whenever running Prismatic, which creates a lot of natural synergy with the Foe Tracers. This also fares out nicely with those weapons that have Elemental Honing, which we talked about earlier. I really like the Foe Tracers as an option for exotic class items, and it goes great with Prismatic, but I do find the overall benefits of the Foe Tracers to be more beneficial whenever using the standard Arc and Solar subclasses. But you would miss out on that 70% increased super damage that the Star Eaters is also providing, and that's really hard to pass up on when maximum damage is your ultimate goal. With damage in mind, all of these builds will benefit from a little extra focus towards intellect, but there's a limit to how much you should invest into this character stat. With each of the higher tiers providing reduced benefits, you're better off sticking with between 30 and 40 points of overall intellect. By using helmet mods like Hands-On, Ashes to Assets, or Dynamo, you'd provide yourself with a much better source of additional super energy. With that said, we've now covered 3 incredible builds on all 3 classes, giving you a ton of top tier options to dish out incredible levels of damage. I'd love to hear your thoughts about these builds, which ones you prefer using, and what exotic weapons you like to pair up with them. Let us know down below. Each of these builds will have a corresponding dim and Mobalytics link, which can be found down in the description, so if you need any help getting these set up, then be sure to check those out. It did take a long time to put this video together, so if you did enjoy and found it helpful, then please be sure to hit that like button below to help out towards the algorithm. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button below. Both are greatly appreciated. If you're a new Light Guardian, just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran just looking for a new home, then be sure to check out that Discord link that's also down in the description, where you can join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.